What up, Acheron family? Welcome to another edition of the 24 Standards of Acheron. Today we're talking about standard number 13, to act like owners. Team, I want to tell you guys a story. Last week, I had to come up with over $100,000 to keep the business moving forward. Over $100,000. Now, I know one day when we're looking back at this and we're dealing with millions and millions of dollars or hundreds of millions of dollars, we're going to be like, remember that time Dave was talking about $100,000? We're going to laugh about this. But here's what's interesting. Most people never see that side of a business. They see the cars, they see the building, they see the customers coming and going. What they don't see is the responsibility. They don't see the nights wondering how you're going to make everything work. They don't see the weight that comes along with making sure payroll gets made, vendors get paid, and the doors stay open. And as I was dealing with that situation, I was reminded of something Acheron used to teach. Acheron said, don't do less than you're paid for, do more than you're paid for. Think about that for a minute. And I tell my kids this all the time. Don't do less than you're paid for, always do more than you're paid for. Because what you're doing, like what you hear is, people always say that, oh yeah, you never know who's watching. So always do your best because you just don't know who's maybe somebody important is watching. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about doing more than you're paid for when nobody is watching. Why do I say that? Because every time you do more than you're paid for, every time you act like an owner, you make an investment in yourself. And each time you invest, even each time you go the extra mile, or each time you do more than is required, you elevate yourself just a little bit. Maybe just 1% each time. Maybe it's 1/4%. But check this out. When you come up a little bit, and then I start to do it, and then Mike starts to do it, and Todd starts to do it, and we slowly start to elevate ourselves, look at what happens. We start to elevate. Because great companies aren't built by just a leader or just an owner doing owner's things. It's all of us taking ownership and continuing to rise and invest in ourselves by taking responsibility for everything that comes in our way. I go to all these dealerships around town or out of town, and you hear the same thing. Everybody's passing the buck. Everybody says, that's not my job. Or they start blaming and pointing fingers because something's not going right. And the ones that are truly great, the ones that, if you start going up into the great companies and you really start to see what's behind the scenes when you get into the owner's offices or when you get into the corporate offices and you start to see how guys are really operating, they're operating at a higher level because they know every time that they go above and beyond or every time they act like an owner, that they're elevating themselves, in turn, elevating the industry, in turn, elevating the company, in turn, elevating everybody they come in contact with. And at Acheron, if we truly are going to change the auto industry for the better, we're going to have to if we all adopt that mindset and it just kind of becomes the standard of who we are, that's when the people rise. That's when we become leaders. That's when we earn trust. That's when we create opportunities because everybody notices the person who acts like an owner. Our mission is, right, to change the auto industry for the better. That ain't going to happen because of me. It's not going to happen because of a title. It's not going to happen because of a job description. It starts to happen when every person here starts asking, what would I do if this were my business? And then does it. So here's my call to action for you today. Today, find one thing that isn't technically your responsibility. One thing you've walked past, one thing you've assumed someone else would handle, and take ownership of it. Because ownership isn't about having your name on the building. Ownership is about doing more than you're paid for, taking responsibility and leaving things better than you found them. That's what owners do. Thank you for listening to another 24 Standards of Acheron. This is standard number 13, Act Like Owners. Thanks, y'all. Peace.